All right, welcome everybody to another episode 3. Look at that, lucky number 3, right into the books of Game Pass Gumbo. Today's show will be about Hellblade 2 and Celtic food. We have our always lovable hosts here, myself, Corkenstein, or Corkenstein. Both are acceptable. Just don't call me late for Celtic food dinner. We have Gold Shell.
How's it going?
Awesome. And we have Token here as well.
What's up, everybody?
So we got another episode here. Hellblade 2 is going to be coming out soon. But before we dive into that, how about we actually get talking into what we've been playing this week? There's actually been some cool stuff that came out this past week. So let's dive into that. Token, tell us about what you've been playing.
I've been 100% full in on Fallout 4. Again, I think I said before, Bethesda games have always been like on the back burner, and I'll say this live for the world to hear. I thought Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas were ugly, which is why I never played them. And because I never played 3 or New Vegas, I never gave 4 a try. But finally giving 4 the chance, absolutely buggy jinky mess of a game in some instances. But overall, I don't care because I'm just enjoying being in the world so much, and just kind of like all the elements and aspects of how they built that game, I'm really enjoying. Not to do any kind of spoilers or anything, but I came out of a building after doing like a main mission to seeing a giant blimp like flying overhead with like helicopters dropping off of it and disappearing in the thing. Like, cutscenes are great, but having something happen, like having things happen in game as you're playing the game, and it's just like a set piece moment happening in game, is always great to me. So just moments like that happening in the game have been amazing, and just overall me running around town and doing stuff. I'm a terrible father because I was about 30 hours in before I even went to Diamond City to go look for my son. But other than that, very much been enjoying playing Fallout 4, and probably looking on playing, dabbling in some games that have come out on Game Pass recently. Little Kitty Big City. I'm not a cat person, but like a quick little, I like playing games as palate cleanser, so a quick little something in between probably Fallout 4 and Hellblade 2 will be that game. What about you, Goat?
I was going to say real quick, I'm pretty sure you're good on spoilers for like a 15-year-old game.
Well, hey, I never played this game before, and I don't want things to be spoiled, even though, yeah, you're right. It's it's an old game, but I don't know what's happening later on in the game, so I don't want to ruin that for other people. It's
fair, and also I think you have a good point. I think all of us are bad fathers when it comes to Fallout 4 because we're like, ooh, this, ooh, this, ooh, this, ooh, this. And then, yeah, it's just like by the end of it, your kid's probably going to be like 80, 90 years old waiting for you to come rescue them, and you're still grabbing Nuka-Colas. But yeah, sorry, Gold, what were you playing?
I'm still chipping away at Sandland. It gets better and better. The vehicle customization is incredible. I'll probably talk about that more on another time. But yeah. I downloaded or bought Pac-Man Mega Tunnel Chomp Champs. That's a mouthful. Saw it show up on the Xbox store here, and I said, "Oh, let me check it out. Let me see some reviews." Some of the reviews were pretty bad, and a lot of them were getting docked on being an online-only game. And I said, "Okay, whatever. What about the gameplay?" So there's a guy by the name of XBuds. He's a Xbox Twitter guy. Talking to him back and forth, and he was telling me that he got a lot of nostalgia from it. So I said, you know what? Screw it. I'll pick it up, play it. Within like 30 minutes of me going through a couple rounds, it throws like 130 achievements at you. The music's cool. The gameplay's fun. And I forgot how intense Pac-Man can be. Because you're sitting there, you get cornered by the ghost, and you're like, no, I'm dead. So going down a little nostalgia rabbit hole. just gonna say between Tales of Arise, Sandland, parts of Scarlet Nexus, and now Pac-Man Chomp Champs, Bandai Namco delivered for me this year. It's just a year of Bandai Namco for me.
Wait,
yeah.
You just started playing Scarlet Nexus this year?
I played it last year, and then I went back. I'm stuck on a boss right now. I've got it downloaded. Once I finish Sandland, I'll probably go in there and try to, because I'm at the last stretch, so I gotta beat it this point.
Wait. What are you stuck at? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really like that game. That's why. My bad.
No, go ahead.
I'll talk
if you guys
to you about it.
Yeah. So, what we're going to be doing, actually, what I've been playing is I did play Little Kitty, Big City. Absolutely great game. It's super, super cute. Also, I do want to say, Elijah Vasquez, I saw you about 5 minutes ago. Thank you. Hello to you as well, good sir. Really cool game. Very, very cute. Just absolutely, I mean, you could definitely tell, like, this is definitely somebody that had cats and had the developer know how to make a cat game and make it very, very interesting and fun and cute. So well done to them. There is, for those that are Chivo hunters, one of the achievements are bugged where you have to break old bird nests. That is bugged. If you bump it and not swipe at it, it doesn't count. So right now I'm sitting at 8 out of 10. Hopefully they can fix that soon, and then I can complete the game and I'll have 1,000 achievements. Other than that, I got back into Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I love me some asymmetrical horror games. I think the aesthetics, I don't know how to phrase it. I guess a checkered history. There we go. With Gun, being a Friday the 13th Kickstarter person, and then as well, or contributor, and then just how everything played out with that game, it was less than ideal. More than just the lawsuit, but
can you I remember a little bit. Can you just give a quick recap of what happened with Friday the 13th? I'm sorry.
So overall, long legal battle between the, I guess, creator of Friday the 13th and I believe the studio or another person. Either way, the rights were up in question on who actually owned Friday the 13th. And until it was discovered, or whoever was going to get paid for it, whatever it is for the licensing, all development had to cease on it, basically. So it got kind of like weird and awkward a bit. But there was other games coming out that I guess knew about it before or something. There's a lot of drama that happened with it. I don't think Gunn really communicated it the best way, which left a lot of interpretation for people to kind of run with crazy narratives, or maybe not so crazy narratives. We don't know. But either way, it left a very sour taste in everybody's mouth with Gunn and how they handled just Friday the 13th license, the game, and the community for a very long time. But they've seemed to have redeemed themselves. If you guys haven't, please play Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Maybe later today, I may do a Let's Play. If anybody wants to join in, it is a very gory and fun game. But enough about that. I feel like I've been ranting on forever.
Is it free to play?
I'm sorry.
Is it Texas Chainsaw Massacre free to play Game Pass, or what's up?
It's on Game Pass. You can play. Please. It's on Steam and PlayStation, but I don't think it is in their like subscription services. At least not on PlayStation. Steam, I think you have to buy, but it's on PC Game Pass and Xbox Game Pass.
Okay, I'll make some space on my hard drive and download it so we can play a bit. I'll just have to delete something that I'm not playing that much of right now.
Yeah. The learning curve's a little difficult. You're going to get worked a little bit, either as a family member or a victim. It's one of those games like Dead by Daylight. So you got to kind of grind and build yourself up to be like a powerhouse and to get within the meta. But it's still very playable and still very enjoyable without it.
I haven't played any of the asymmetric like multiplayer games because the first one that I bought an attempt to play ended badly. So I just got turned on because I definitely like saw when Evolve came out. If you remember Evolve,
Oh yeah.
I bought that. It was like, yeah, I'm gonna play this game, and then I played maybe like 2 or 3 times, and I was like, I don't like this.
Well, speaking of Evolved, that was also done by Ilphonic. I think they helped a helping hand on that. They are coming out with their asymmetrical horror game, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, I think in a couple of weeks. Those that
Also classic movie. I love that movie.
Yep, it's a good one. I know some of us are familiar with Miles. Had his own podcast. We were in his Discord for a while, Chatter Days. Very cool dude. He's the social guy for that, or one of them for Ilphonic now, and that's his game. So
that's dope.
reach out to him, tell him, hey, congrats on the new launch.
For him.
Yeah, and he's such a good dude. Like seriously, super cool dude. But yeah, reach out to him. Tell him, hey, awesome job. Congrats on your new game releasing. Yeah, he deserves it. And like I said, yeah, we all agree he's a great guy. So I see in your guys' background, you can't see in mine, I don't have my TV. You guys got that beautiful Hellblade 2 dynamic screen going on, and that is what's going to be our topic for today. Hellblade 2, and Ninja Theory, at least for a majority of it. So let's start off with you, Gold. Have you played Hellblade 1?
Yeah, I was actually able to play it last year. I think I got about 90% of it done. Really good game. I played it once, didn't go back to it, and then I decided, you know what, Hellblade 2 is coming out. Let me go back to this and finish it. Great experience. I see a lot of people dunking on the combat. I mean, the combat was one-dimensional, but it felt really good. It felt responsive, especially at 60 frames per second.
Well, it also felt correct with the game, because the game's very it's not a crazy climb up, roam around this big open world and stuff. It's very linear, linear. So it's very direct, and I felt the combat matched that. Go ahead. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. It was surprisingly really good, and sure, I liked aspects. I played God of War on PC, and there's a lot of things that reminded me of each other, but for what Hellblade was with the budget, there are certain aspects of Hellblade that I enjoyed more than God of War.
Okay. Very nice. Q, what about you? Did you play Hellblade 1? And if you guys can see right down here, we have some gameplay footage. This is from the channel Father on YouTube. It's just them playing, no commentary, just playing the game, which we'll have playing throughout the podcast. Go ahead.
Yeah, actually, what's funny is I have a interesting little background with Hellblade. I played the first one, but it's one of those games. Real quick, we talk about Game Pass Gumbo. Game Pass changed how I play games and what games I'm interested in playing, because I definitely 100% wrote off Hellblade as a game that I wasn't gonna be interested in, and it wasn't until it came to, obviously it was a PlayStation exclusive at first. I didn't have a PlayStation, so I wasn't gonna play it. It came to Xbox, and then I was like, at least it's on Xbox now, but I didn't give it a chance. And then it came on Game Pass. Once it was on Game Pass, I was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot since it's there. People said it was a good game. I only played it because other people said it was a good game. I actually bounced off of it like 3 times before I actually played through it. The first time I was like, let me just see what it is real quick, and I was being impatient. And the opening scene where you're like, when she's on like the canoe, took too long for me.
Really?
The opening scene of the canoe took too long for me the first time I tried to play it. So I was just like, this taking too long. I'm gonna play something else. But I think a lot of that came from me kind of already having written off the game before I even tried it. And I've been a lot better at giving stuff a chance. And I say it like it was such long, well, actually, 2017 was a long time ago at this point. But yeah, I bounced off of it a couple times, but once I finally sat down, I got to the nitty gritty and actually played through it and realized I could have got through this game in the amount of time that it took me to bounce off of it. I could have got through the game in a quarter of that. I had a really great experience with it. I think the story and how they focus on Senua's mental health and how it affects her perception of the world, and also it was this very interesting thing because the whole entire game I'm just sitting there like, okay, is this happening or is she just bugging? And it was a lot of me just questioning, like, yo, am I bugging or is she bugging? What is going on? And that was a lot of like the gameplay going forward. And I like how everything kind of like was encompassed in that whole idea of it being about her perception of the world because of her mental health. And I like how the puzzles played into that. I like how the boss battles played into that. The boss battles, even though people complain about the combat, and I think the combat was the weakest part of the game, but not saying that the combat wasn't good. I think it was good for the game that it was. I wasn't expecting, I think people were expecting it to have like skill trees and abilities and all that. And you know what? That's way more time to put in a game than you think it is. And again, this was a game that was on a smaller budget with a smaller team. It makes sense that they wanted to dial it in and make the combat robust for what it was, but also like more simplified, so you're not like unlocking abilities and trying to make the combat really big when the game isn't that long in the first place. I think the combat served its purpose wonderfully.
It did, especially for like a narrative adventure like that. I mean, you don't, like you said, there's no reason to have skill trees. This is a smaller team. Why have all that fluff in there if it's just not gonna fit? You know,
exactly.
It's a narrative adventure, and that's what it is, and it did it absolutely beautifully. And the combat maybe a little on the weaker side, how they implemented it, but it fit, and it wasn't bad combat. It just wasn't very complex combat, which we're used to in a lot of games nowadays.
There's actually, and I like, one of the things that I really enjoyed about the game too was the lack of a HUD. I think they did such a good job of it being organic, and like you still have all those little pieces of, okay, I know this is happening because it's like me in the combat things and just focus, like beeline focusing on the mirror. I can't wait till the mirror starts to shine. Once the mirror starts to shine, like it's go time. Yeah. So it's like having those elements where there wasn't a HUD, there wasn't like a press X in this area here type thing. It was just, you know how to play games. We don't need to show you what the button presses are. And I think that added to the immersion in the game. And it wasn't until my second time playing the game that I wore my headphones. So it was a completely different, not different, but it was the experience was elevated my second time around, because what they did with the binaural audio is what it's called. Yeah, what they did with the binaural audio.
Or bispatial or something like that, spatial audio.
It was fantastic. And I think for this generation, honestly, I don't think spatial audio gets enough credit for being a push forward in terms of immersion for games. And I think they did such an incredible job with that. And the second playthrough for me definitely was the better playthrough because I wore my headset the whole time versus just playing it over regular speakers. And
I love that you brought that up, because that's actually something what I was going to bring up with my playthrough is, so I have these headsets. These are the Arctis Nova Pros. I didn't have these yet, but I did have a pretty decent pair of headphones, and just that audio was like, all of a sudden it was spatial. You know, I think I had it was Dolby Atmos. And yeah, I could hear something coming in from the back, and I was like, what is that? You know, it was very, very engrossing, very immersive. Just the audio was totally on another level. It even tells you like, hey, you know, wear headsets while playing this game. And, you know, it definitely takes that level of what's inside Senua's head to that next level. You did bring up, you know, is she bugging, you know, with the psychosis, and they did just release a new video. We talked about it for those that saw. I was on Breakfast with Boom, great content creator, Mr. Boomstick XL, Double Barrel Gaming on YouTube. Please go check him out. I will post a link in the chat for you guys to check that out. But Yeah, he's been we were talking about that, and it was amazing. That psychosis video. It's a symptom though. For most people, they think it's a disease. It's a symptom of, having a mental kind of disorder, in that sense of, you hear, you see things. And at that time, I mean, look at Sanua. This is not caveman stuff, but very basic way of living and life. And she's hearing voices and seeing crazy things. Are they gods? You could only just imagine what's really going inside of her head in this time where psychosis isn't even a word that's been created yet. So it's interesting to see and have that story portrayed. It's an amazing story. By the way, if you guys haven't played it, please go play it before you play Hellblade 2. I don't know if you'll need to play Hellblade 1 to kind of get the gist of what's happening, but you may have to. Either way, play it.
You should. Either way, even if you don't need to play the first one to play 2, just play 1. It probably will take you about 10 hours to get through. If you play, you can play it the weekend, but you can literally play it by Friday, and by Sunday, like the week before Hellblade 2 comes out, you'll definitely have it done. And be open. I won't give any spoilers, but be open to not be open to not just trying to kill everything once you get closer to the end. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say. Be open to just be like, you know what, maybe I should chill out.
Are any of you guys gonna go back and replay? I am, for sure. I'll probably, now that I'm done with Little Kitty Big City, I'll probably jump back over just to do a quick playthrough. This isn't a very long game, guys. It's very quick. Well, not quick. It's at your own pace, but you can just knock this out. Relatively short time span. But it's definitely something you really should engross yourself in, with the narrative and everything. That's just absolutely beautiful. Are you guys gonna go back and replay?
I did already. I did already. What was it? Not this year, but late last year, I replayed through it with all the Xbox Series X updates to it.
Nice.
Which I feel like also, if you're gonna play it with if you're gonna play that version, the Xbox Series version, it is. I feel like the quality mode is the way to go.
Okay.
I'm typically like, oh, let's play 60 FPS unless it's smooth. But I think the visual upgrades in comparison to the Xbox One version, even the Xbox One X version, I think the visual upgrades for the Xbox Series X upgrade is enough that you won't miss the 60 for the 30, because the 30 is smooth as butter anyway.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at the gameplay footage here. This was from 6 years ago, so this was, I guess, before a lot of that stuff came out. And I mean, the game just still looks and plays gorgeous. Speaking of that, you were talking about the 30 and, the FPS and everything like that. This game kind of has gotten a little flack that it may be 30 frames per second instead of 60 frames. Do you guys think that's an issue for you? Just to kind of start off, I'll kind of go with it just a little bit on my take first. If you guys don't mind. I don't think it is. Honestly, I'd rather have it at 24 frames per second. That's movie cinema. That's cinema right there. That's cinema quality. Any YouTube content creator, guess what? They're not shooting in 60. They are shooting in 24 frames per second. Oh, it's a game though. But yeah, it is a game. But this is also a narrative game. This is a very cinematic game. I don't feel that everything needs to be 60 frames per second. I think it's a very overblown narrative. That 60 frames means quality. It doesn't mean quality, and I don't think this is a game that really needs 60 frames. Like I said, I'd rather have it 24 or 30, give it that cinematic narrative kind of feel, and kind of really immerse the player into what they're playing and what they're seeing. And I think with a lower frame rate, that kind of achieves that objective. What do you guys think, Gold?
I'll give it a shot on Series X, but if 30 frames ain't it, I'm going PC. And I'm going to give you a little pushback. I'm in the 60 frames crowd. I really wish they'd offered the options to do so, but it is what it is. I have a PC. So if I'm not feeling the 30, even a 40 frames mode would have been nice. So I don't know. I just like options. The system can do it. It's not that it's the way I play games, it's a feeling thing. So I like instantaneous response. I get a lot of that out of 60 frames per second. I was playing Evil West, and it was kind of sluggish, and then I bumped it up to 60. Wasn't feeling the game anyway, but it felt way better. And I played Hellblade 1 on the frame rate mode.
Mm-hmm.
So I am one of those gamers that were a little annoyed that I didn't get the option.
Okay. No, that's totally fair. Totally fair. Q, what about you? Are you guys going to double team me here on this 60 FPS or am I going to be?
So I'm actually in the middle of both of y'all. So I very much.
Sorry, Mike went out.
It depends on the game, right? So faster paced games, especially games where the camera's moving. I think when I notice 60 the most is in first person shooters and games where the camera moves faster than the frame rate can keep up on. So like, and if you don't have good motion blur in the game, like I prefer 60 because I notice the slowness of the frames when the camera moves on faster paced games. But to me, what's important is the smoothness. Doesn't stay at the frame rate, because the main difference between 60 and 30 when we're looking at frame rate, outside of the feeling of it, is when there's drops, when there's dips. You notice visually the dips less in 60 than you do in 30, because it's going from 30 to 24 frames per second is more noticeable than going from 60 to 55 frames per second, at least to me. So I feel like Hellblade's not one of those games, unless the camera goes faster than I want it to. Hellblade's not one of those games where I'm going to want it to... I always prefer 60, but Hellblade's not one of those games where I'm going to be disappointed if it's at 30, as long as the frame rate is smooth. I know, for a perfect example is I was kind of last year, honestly, I was kind of about 30 FPS games, and I was like, I don't know if I really want to play it. But then I played them just to play them, and I was like, oh, this doesn't bother me at all. Starfield being one of them. I didn't have any big issues with Starfield's frame rate at 30, and I enjoyed playing the game. I noticed some camera movement stuff, but other than that, as long as it's smooth is what's important to me. So I have no problem playing Hellblade 2 at 30 FPS because I played the first one at 30. And like I said, I had the option for 60 and I prefer the 30 for the quality. That's not always the case, but at least in this situation, it probably will be.
Okay. No, and then that's definitely very fair. This isn't a game like Fortnite or Call of Duty where you need, like you were saying, that quick responsiveness to where it's definitely a good point to make. There are times where 60 should be the norm. I don't think for Hellblade, I don't think that's the case here, but we'll see. None of us have played it yet. I wonder if actually it would be cool to see if we could get a review code. I don't think that will happen. I think maybe we're not there yet, but I would love to get a review code for Hellblade 2 and do a review here on the Game Pass Gumbo channel for you guys. If you guys like that, please put a comment in. That's something you guys like to see. Send us a tweet, whatever you guys have. Let us know what you guys think. If you guys do like this, like and subscribe down below. It really helps the channel. Even just a like would really help us propel us to this next level of a podcast for you guys. To move forward, so we kind of talked about we've talked about Hellblade 1. We're going into Hellblade 2 now. What are you guys expecting as far as gameplay goes? Are you guys looking for this to kind of be more of the same, or are you looking for it? I mean, we really haven't seen a lot of really in-depth trailers yet. We got to see the live trailer. I was there actually live for that at the Game Awards. Jeff invited a few of us out that helped him with organizing the Game Awards 1 year. So I already live here in LA, but a few got flown out. And then, it was a lot of fun. It was really cool. So I got to see it live, but that's pretty much all we've seen. We haven't really had a deep dive yet. Are you guys expecting more of the narrative adventure, or do you expect maybe a little more in terms of combat, the kind of exploring the world, how to traverse the world, things like that? Let's go with you, Token.
So I I think from my opinion, from the trailers that we've seen so far, is that I think we'll get a lot of the same narrative adventure type game that we got in Hellblade, the first one, in Senua's Sacrifice, but elevated, expanded. A lot of the environments in the first game were narrow, kind of like not corridors, but like open corridor is what I like to describe it as. Like I think of the area when you're outside of the entrance to Hela castle or whatever, where it's like it's open, but it's kind of like here's a cliff on this side, here's a cliff on this side. This is all that you can kind of go to. I feel like we'll have I feel like the environments will be expanded from what they were before. I feel like there'll be a little bit more in terms of traversal and platforming and puzzles, so to speak. But I don't think from what they've shown, and I could be wrong because I haven't played the game yet, that they'll go into this more like hub, like big open world. I don't think it'll be kind of like the Tomb Raider games where they're like these big hubs. You know what I mean? I feel like we'll just have more fleshed out and larger environments than before, but not fully kind of hub or open world as I would say. The combat seems like it's very similar to before, but more in depth. Okay. And I don't need, like, again, for it to be, if it's going to be a shorter, more narrative experience game, skill trees. I just don't want to be banging my head against the wall, being like, I don't want to be banging my head against the wall during the combat, but I also don't want the combat to be so simplistic that it's just tap, 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 right? And it wasn't that in the first game, so I expect them to expand on it in the second game. So I'm just looking for it to be more of the first game, but expanded and enhanced, basically.
Yeah, I was laughing because I was like, okay, so you don't want it to be Dark Souls, but you also don't want it to be as easy as Final Fantasy 16. Because you remember there was a whole, people were making fun of it because you could just keep tapping X, 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 and it would just swing and you would beat a boss like magically. So a little dig at Final Fantasy 16, but Gold, what about you? What are you expecting with Hellblade 2? What would you like to see? You know, kind of give us your take.
First of all, I've been trying to get my wife to play this game for a while. She's going into a field that's very much she's going into being a social worker.
Okay.
And she's actually taken a few classes on mental health. Now, I have mental health issues myself. I'm on the spectrum, and I take Strattera and stuff like that to function and all that good stuff. But she's taken a real interest to it, and I've been trying to get her to play that game so she can experience and give me her thoughts as someone who's going through classes for mental health. So I'll eventually get it. Maybe I might have her sit down and watch me play Hellblade 2.
Okay. As
kind of I'll try to get it set up for 2 headphones together and have us play together and see how her take is. As far as what I expect from it, I don't know. There wasn't a whole lot of glaring things about the first one that turned me off. Obviously, I want 60 frames, but we've already discussed that, or we've already crossed that bridge. But I don't know. It from what I see on the trailer, it looks like some of the... Okay, maybe I did have a critique. No, even then. But it looked very vast. It looked very open world-esque. So it felt... I don't know. I don't know what to expect, honestly. I'm just kind of just going to go into it with an open mind, because I'm arguably not I played the game, I loved it, but I'm not part of the hype train like a lot of people are.
Yeah.
There's other games in the portfolio this year that I'm way more excited about. You know, Avowed, Indiana Jones, Asian Mythology. So I'm just going to kind of go in there with an open mind. I really enjoyed myself with the first one. Am I thinking this is going to be the best thing since sliced bread? No, but I'm looking forward to it nonetheless. So I'm just going to go on the open
best
mind.
thing Ninja Theory's done since sliced bread, and that's what's important. If it's the best game that they've ever made, that's what's important.
Yeah.
So
Okay, no, go ahead. Yeah. To kind of let's go into kind of a new territory here. And this isn't just to doom and gloom. There has been some new, with everything going on, the studio closures and stuff like that. Ninja Theory has been brought up as, hey, this might be a title that could that's releasing on Game Pass that could maybe end the studio if it doesn't do well. What do you guys think in terms of Ninja Theory? And with this releasing, do you kind of feel that maybe it's people doom and glooming, or do you think there's a very legitimate concern releasing a single player experience like Hellblade on Game Pass, similar to Hi-Fi Rush? A short, small game that that doesn't have a live service element, that probably won't have DLC. Where does that fall for you guys? Gold, do you want to give us your take on that?
I don't know. It's just one of those things that we thought Hi-Fi Rush, everything we thought about Hi-Fi Rush, it's really hard to say with a lot of it. You had mentioned on Boom's podcast about them doing motion capture and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of R&D tech coming out of Ninja Theory to help the other studios. So it strikes me as am I correct in assuming that Ninja Theory has become somewhat of a cinematic version of Coalition for UE5? Am I incorrect in assuming that?
I would say it's a good assumption, yeah, because that's my take, is that if they're not, because I mean with Tango, you really couldn't utilize them in any field per se, like a specialized field other than development of games. Like with Coalition, they have massive experience with UE5. Ninja Theory with UE5 and their cinematic and how they develop and their artistic style. It's very real, very unique, and it pushes boundaries. I don't really think you got that with Tango. So this adds value to them. But yeah, I would say that's a good assumption, is that they could be a good support studio. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, if they've got that there in their back pocket, I don't foresee any issues coming out of Ninja Theory. The recent stuff seemed to be more of a Bethesda thing anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as it doing numbers in Game Pass and upping subscriptions, I don't know. If this becomes a Game of the Year contender, like a full-fledged one, it's possible. But it's hard to say on the Game Pass thing. There's so many different metrics coming out with Game Pass, even coming out of Phil himself, that it's really hard to gauge if this will be a success for Game Pass. But does it need to be? Because the second half of the year we're looking at, which is confirmed by Sarah Bond, Call of Duty, Indiana Jones, Avowed, Age of Mythology Retold, during the holiday season, and with GTA 6 not going on PC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that too. But if the messaging is, hey, here's all these great games, by the way, GTA 6 is not on PC, maybe that could drive some hardware sales. But like to your point earlier, you got the PC Game Pass. How many people are going to buy on Steam? I don't know. I know some PC gamers personally. Half of them are Game Pass, and I know a couple of them that just buy on Steam. They don't mess with Game Pass, and we'll see.
Yeah, you just made my backlog cry with mentioning all those games for that second half of the year. That is an insanely stacked, and we haven't even seen. There might be more at the showcase. Just to throw that out there. Q, what do you think? Doom and gloom or fair criticism? Do you think there's some cause for concern here?
I feel like a lot of people, once they got the news about the ZeniMax closures, and let's be real again, that it was specific ZeniMax closures, not saying that other studios aren't in trouble, like couldn't possibly in trouble, but like until there's any inkling of it other than all the ZeniMax stuff, because literally everything that's happened with the studio closures and the statements put out about the studio closures were ZeniMax specific. Mm-hmm. And ZeniMax is separate from Xbox Game Studios, even though they're all under the same umbrella. Until we see some movement, some stuff going on in Xbox Game Studios, I'm not worried about it.
Okay.
Hellblade, Ninja Theory specifically, I feel like they, like you said earlier, they along with Coalition, Undead Labs, have kind of become like the center point for UE development for Xbox Game Studios. Undead Labs, with them adding more studios, specifically having a studio focused on animation for Unreal Engine. Ninja Theory, with them being more cinematic, more narrative-driven games. The even at a lower budget, though, the Sony-esque games, if you will. Funny enough, with Ninja Theory having multiple, having a Sony exclusive and a game that used to be a Sony exclusive with Hellblade. So I feel like you can never say that any of these studios are completely safe, but like until we see more movement outside of the ZeniMax studios, I feel like all these studios are in a good position because they're not in the same position as the studios that were closed. Hellblade, the first one, saved Ninja Theory as an independent studio, and it wasn't like it was a $10+ million hit game, but they sold multiple millions of copies before it even came to Xbox, before it even came to Game Pass. Do we know the metrics of how many people have played it since then? Not really, because you don't need to keep going up on metrics for a game that's 7 years old. So I think we'll have to see with Hellblade 2. We'll have to see what the player base is for it. If more people play the second game than the first game, how many people play it, how many people enjoy it, how many people buy it, because Game Pass isn't the end all be all. Not everybody's on there. People still buy games, so I think it could see massive success on Steam for all we know. All I'm worried about is if I enjoy the game, because I pay money for Game Pass, and if there's ways to like support the studio outside of just playing the game on Game Pass, I do. So if they put out DLC, I'll probably buy the DLC. Not likely for a game like Hellblade, but if they do, I'll do it.
No, totally fair.
That's my feeling on it. It's a wait and see thing, but I don't think that they are in any immediate trouble. I don't think Hellblade 2 doesn't get 10 million players in Game Pass and add 3 million subscription, and they're like, you know what, we're going to cut our losses with Ninja Theory after this game. I don't think that's the case, and I feel like a lot of people think that's the case with Tango, and I don't think that's what actually was going on in the background, but no, I don't know anything.
No. I think you make some very good, fair points. Sorry, I'm just looking at my phone because I can't really look at it since I'm running all the production side. I can't use because since the internet right now, the window is playing Hellblade 2. If I click out of it, it takes you out of the window. So it's just kind of weird. So I'm on sorry, I don't mean to be rude to you guys. I'm just kind of handling the back end stuff here, and I have to do that from my phone sometimes. But no, it's definitely very real. Very, very good points. I think there is cause for concern, but I think that cause for concern is very overblown, and people are doing, taking the hyperbole of it and really doom and glooming it just to doom and gloom because they don't know any better, and it pushes a good narrative for clicks. I mean, well, bad narrative, but it's a good clickbait, kind of news source. Oh, here's it ticks a lot of boxes that people think Tango was in. But like I said, I can't see other than their ties to Japanese gaming developers and kind of being that foothold in Japan for Xbox. I think them giving up on Tango, that might have been kind of a mistake for them to push into Japan a little bit more. I mean, unless they got something already coming in on the back end, who knows? We will see maybe at the showcase coming out from Japan and Japan developers. Maybe it's just more beneficial for them to sign third-party deals. Game Pass deals. You know,
I do want to say, I think a lot of people looked at Tango as this in for Xbox in Japan. And, you know, Phil Spencer made statements that like kind of gave people that, but they really never was like, yeah, Tango is our Japan. This is the start of our. This is the start of us being like in Japan. Is Tango. Tango came along for the ride with ZeniMax.
Yeah.
Several of those studios came along for the ride. They didn't buy ZeniMax for Roundhouse Studios. They didn't buy ZeniMax for Tango Gameworks. They bought ZeniMax for Fallout, id Tech, Elder Scrolls, and maybe Arcane Leon, right?
Yeah.
id Tech's another thing that I can get in another conversation about id Tech, but what I don't understand about id Tech is once again, I am thankful that Indiana Jones is being made in id Tech because we know it's going to run awesome. I would love to see Microsoft take Infinity Ward, Treyarch, id, all them, have them collab and make, because you remember the Unity issue with all those problems with the engine and all that stuff. What I'd love to see is Microsoft offer more options. I know they use Unreal Engine, I get it, but id Tech is such a robust, such a really powerful engine. I mean, you can do third person where they did with, I think Evil Within 1 was done in third person id Tech, right?
Yep.
I just wish they would come maybe make a super engine that they can offer, and they just say, hey, and they just say, hey, use our engine, but make sure you're going to put it in Game Pass. Just give developers more of an option, because it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of options outside of Unity and Unreal and Crytek, right? And Crytek's sparse use, isn't it?
Like that. For third-party licensing, like for bigger games, it's kind of low. But there are tons of engines for smaller indie games. But like, yeah, if you're looking at what the majority of developers use, it's Unreal, Unity, and then Crytek, like for further down the line than those two.
Yeah,
I agree with you. I think Matt Booty talked about before about the difficulty of like focusing on keeping a proprietary engine. They can do it. I don't see I definitely agree with you for them like living in a world where all those studios that have deep experience with using id Tech and offshoots of id Tech, because you know the IW engine is an offshoot of id Tech, come together, like bringing all their experience together and then kind of like refining what id Tech 7, right? Is 7 the current one, or is 7 the next? Or let's say 8.
We're working on 8.
Yeah. So that coming together, that id Tech 8 being a proprietary engine from like in-house that they license out, because they already have with the game stack stuff. They already have a bunch of different features and programs and products that they license out to other developers. They the whole game stack and GitHub stuff. So it makes sense that in addition to all the multiplayer and cloud stuff that they offer, that they would offer an engine as well. But it's still only like 3 years into them having that studio under their belt. And it takes much longer than that to actually kind of put that stuff together, at least I think. But definitely. I agree with you that I would like to see that be the direction that they go with the id Tech engine. But I guess we'll see.
Yeah. Awesome. So I think I can speak for all of us here when we say we're excited for Hellblade 2. It's a little unknown what we're gonna see, where we're gonna go with it. But I'm insanely excited for the narrative. I'm insanely excited to see this graphical powerhouse that Ninja Theory has made, narrative powerhouse that they have made as well. So let's hope we get to see Hellblade 2. The marketing push did start. I don't know if you guys want to talk a little bit about that. There was some criticism that came out that, they haven't marketed the game enough. It's, a few days out. The usual doom and gloom. I think Destin was a big part of that from IGN. I think he was kind of just jumping on that hate bandwagon, in my opinion. I think he's a good dude, but I just don't agree with him on a lot of the narratives that he tries to push sometimes. For me, I think marketing is great. I think they've always started, since I can remember, at least Gears 5. They've always pushed the marketing about 2 weeks, roughly 2 weeks before a game releases. I don't think they need a longer window. I think when you start doing 2-month long marketing pushes, you're just wasting money. You're better off just hitting people really fast with it, in your face, build that FOMO up quick. But I mean, what do I know? I'm not a marketing expert. What do you guys think? Should they have started the marketing a little earlier, or do you think right now is the perfect time to kind of capture what Hellblade 2 is and get the hype train started?
It's fine.
That's all I gotta say.
You think it's fine? Yeah, I think so. Gold. I mean, Token.
I feel like it's fine, man. I'm the type of person that pays for ad-free stuff, so I'm not out here looking for. I know a lot of people have these conversations about Xbox marketing and how to market games or whatever. Mm-hmm. I want to see less commercials. I want to see less ads. I pay to not see ads.
Very fair.
But that's also because I go to the source when I want to see stuff. I go to Xbox's YouTube. I follow Xbox on Instagram. I follow Ninja Theory on Instagram, and I follow the studios that I want to know the information from them on the platforms that they're available to follow on. So I don't. I'm not one of the people that's like, well, I didn't see it on a bus, or I didn't see like a commercial on like Amazon Prime or TV, because I specifically paid to not see ads. So,
I guess very, very fair.
And I feel like, and I'm not a marketing expert, I don't know like what they do, but I feel like maybe it makes more sense to have more marketing after the game's release versus before it comes out, because you're saying like if they. Just for example, and I'm not saying this is exactly what it is because I don't know, but if they're starting marketing 2 weeks before the game releases, but then they continue heavily marketing the game for a month or two after release, which is, that first month, or what was it, the first 3 months is like the biggest, where they get a lot of their sales for games, right? It's the first 3 months, I think. So it makes sense for the majority of the marketing to be during that time where A, the game's actually available for people, and B, when most of the people are going to decide whether they buy it or not. Because I know a lot of people, even if reviews are subjective and all that, but I know a lot of people that wait for reviews and people to get hands-on before they even think about buying a game. I think in the last few years, buying a game day one or pre-ordering a game has become less of a thing for a lot of people, just because games aren't coming out in the best state always. So I feel like if they're starting 2 weeks ahead, and then during the bulk of the time that people are going to want to interact and engage with the game, that makes sense for that to be more marketing, rather than it to be 2 months before, 3 months before, 6 months before. Because then it's like 6 months before, okay, you're showing me this commercial, but I can't play the game.
Yeah, it's pointless at that point. You're just wasting money throwing it at people, and then 4 months go by and they've already forgotten about it until they see another ad and they're like, oh. Mm-hmm. So you basically had the same effect 4 months that you would have had 2 weeks before. Why waste all that money?
Or you get the thing where people are like, well, they're showing the game too much.
Yeah.
Like how many people have said, like, with games, like I remember Deathloop. Like they showed Deathloop for like everywhere for like 2 years, and people are like, okay, we're tired of seeing Deathloop.
And that's such a good point too.
Final Fantasy 16, like a lot of people get tired of seeing the same games over and over again if you're doing the marketing for so long.
And that's such a good point too, because it's such a double standard that people had for Xbox coming in, where they're like, Xbox, needs to start showing more, showing less. Why are they announcing things 4 or 5 months, showing 4 or 5 months before, and then they miss a release date. And then now Xbox is like, okay, that's a fair point. Let's start marketing, once we're a little, once we know a little bit more, a month, 2 weeks before, we'll start marketing. You guys aren't marketing the game enough. And it's like, you can't have it both ways. There's no perfect timing for this. It's just, it's very, it's very hypocritical, I think, and that's something I completely forgot about. Thank you for bringing that up, but it's such a great point that people are going to just complain just to complain.
And then extra marketing doesn't equal sales. Like marketing is you spending money. You're spending money on hopes and prayers because you could put the game everywhere. You could put it on billboards. You could put it on radio ads. You could put it on TV. You could put it on Twitch and Instagram. You can have every insider talking about it. Every major Twitch streamer talking about it. You could have it on Amazon. You can have it everywhere. You spend millions of dollars on marketing. It does not guarantee that you will get millions of more people buying your game.
Well, I mean, look at Sony. They ballooned their costs on a lot of these development games, you know, like they had a giant axe in the middle of London, you know. That's one, not very cheap to build. Two, that's also very not cheap to rent out that space. Three, you know, that's also very expensive to have that thing built and shipped all the way over there or wherever they built it from. Either way, there's a lot of money being thrown into that for what? Just to be like, that's a cool, something cool. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean quality, and it doesn't necessarily mean, it's another good point that you make. It's just kind of, I brought it up on Boom's podcast that, you know, you have Sony that's ballooning their costs with low margins because of stuff like that. You know, that's what Xbox is trying to avoid. That's why they're shuttering some studios. They're very trimming the fat. Not necessarily fat, because that sounds very bad, you know, because Tango wasn't fat. They were a very good developer. A lot of these guys are good developers, but they're trimming down what's absolutely needed for them to stay financially successful. And it's just a part of capitalism that just sucks, and nobody's ever going to like it. So let's kind of let's switch gears. Let's go into our food portion, if you guys are good with that. Goals.
Real quick.
Oh yes.
Real quick before we switch over to that. What do we want to see from Ninja Theory moving forward? I would personally like to see another combo slasher from them, because I never played Heavenly Sword, but I watched some footage on it. I liked what I played of Devil May Cry. I love my combo slashers, and I would love no Ninja Theory. And if Ninja Theory is watching, I've got a pitch for you. Do one called Excalibur, King Arthur, or whatever, and then go around and fighting Saxon warlords. I know it's going to be very similar to Hellblade, but it won't be similar to Hellblade as in tone. But it'll be, you could basically pull Excalibur and you would just walk around and just do all sorts of combos, and you could have Merlin help you with magical powers as upgrades for the combat. Because what I played at DMC, the level of different stuff you could do with Ninja Theory's Devil May Cry, with the axe, all the different stuff. And I did play a little bit of the other Devil May Cries, but that one in particular spoke to me. I was never bored with the combat because there was all sorts of stuff to do. That's what I'd like to see from Ninja Theory again. Y'all go ahead.
I think actually, I think that would be a better Dark Souls kind of game. Instead of you finding Saxon warlords, you fight the Knights of the Round Table as bosses, big giant bosses. Okay. You know, Merlin, he's the one that's giving you the powers, you know, kind of similar to Elden Ring, how you have the reinforcements that you could call in, things like that. But I mean, that's a different conversation. I think it's a great idea, actually, that you came up with that. I think from Ninja Theory, I don't know. I kind of want them to I don't want them to kind of just start going, you know, get into that production mode where it's just like, okay, I got to keep coming stuff out. I think that's kind of the narrative right now, if you don't want to get shuttered by Microsoft. But that's how you start creating cookie cutter games. That's how you start creating things that just don't have any soul. You're just there to make money rather than create an artistic piece, which isn't Ninja Theory. They make amazing games like we've seen below. Everything that's been played so far has just been this cinematic masterpiece, and that's just visually. We were not even hearing it, you know, the audio. I don't know what I want from them yet. I think they need to take some time to figure it out, and maybe, you know, I mean, I don't think we need a Hellblade 3 yet. We haven't seen what the story goes here. But I think I'm kind of happy with them just kind of releasing this for now, and then we can see what's next for them. Token?
What I actually want from them is for them to make the game that they want to make, and for that game to be successful. That's what I want for every studio. Let them make the games that they want to make and let those games be successful. Unfortunately, every game that developers want to make isn't going to be successful.
Yep.
And even if it is successful, that don't mean it's going to save that studio, because it could be a side project that their bigger project sold less than. But we won't get into that.
Hi-Fi Rush.
As a personal
Rush. Sorry.
As a personal thing, I know what my personal thing that I want Ninja Theory to do isn't what a whole bunch of other people want, but I'm gonna put it out there into the ether anyway. I agree with Goldshell, because I too jumped on DMC way like this year. Actually, it's my first time playing through it, and it's the only Devil May Cry game that I've actually beaten. But I like the combo slasher in it. I would like them to do a single player like combo slasher game like that, based in the Bleeding Edge world. Because I actually enjoyed playing Bleeding Edge.
It was fun.
I'm not a big multiplayer only person anyway. Like the games that I play that are mainly multiplayer, I play because I play online with you guys.
Yeah.
Overwatch 2 wouldn't be on my Overwatch 2 wouldn't be a staple on my hard drive if it wasn't for you guys being like, oh, like this is a game that we play, especially Rake. I only jumped on Overwatch 2 because it was free to play, and Rake and Goldshell were super excited about playing it. And I wound up putting over 100 hours into it, which was more than the 20 hours that I put into like Overwatch 1. But I enjoyed playing Bleeding Edge for what it was. It was a smaller game. People wanted to compare it to Overwatch, and it's like, yo, the Overwatch started off with like 130 people, and Ninja Theory put 20 people together and made Bleeding Edge. So it's not really the greatest comparison, but I thought they did a good job of like creating a world and characters that were interesting. A little cookie cutter in the brightly colored design, but that's as game developers, you kind of gotta move in a direction that you think people are going to buy your game, and that's kind of been like a it thing to make quirky characters with like bright colors, i.e. see Overwatch. So I think it would be cool if they took that world, the idea of what's going on in that world, and making it into a single player session game when you get to play as different characters with different ability sets. Go basically what Overwatch's single player portion was going to be before they said, nah, we're not doing it.
Okay. No, totally cool. Yeah. Very fair. For those that don't know, our buddy Rake, he's somebody that we've played with, kind of started this whole Discord and talks with and stuff like that. Very cool guy. We miss him. Hopefully we could play a little bit more with him. He's being the Canadian Gordon Ramsay right now, doing cooking school and everything like that. Very cool guy. So hopefully we can actually have him on as a podcast guy, one of our co-hosts here with us, hopefully soon. Did you guys want to talk about anything else revolving Hellblade 2 Ninja Theory, or are we good to move on to...
We're good to food.
Perfect. And Gold, I'm going to have you kind of take the reins on this. Sadly, I am, part Celtic, being Irish. But it's kind of, the food is a little out of my wheelhouse.
Okay, now I saw where you went with that.
Yeah.
I was sitting there going, okay, now you finished.
Yeah. So it's a little out of my wheelhouse for the most part. And I kind of, if you don't mind taking the reins on this, kind of leading us in. I think most people are kind of confused when we make this, like I was, until you explained it to me. Why Hellblade? Why Celtic food when it's Hellblade 2? They're in Iceland. So can you kind of take us down this road on why we're combining the two?
So Senua is a Pict, which a Pict is a Neolithic, maybe not Neolithic, but they're around there with the Celts. They're not exactly Celtic, I don't believe. They are, like I said, Neolithic. And then, so the Romans built the Hadrian Wall, probably mispronouncing it. And the Pict in Latin means the painted people. So when you hear of, the Scottish woad paint, which is the blue paint stuff from Braveheart, that's actually more Pictish than it is Celtic. Now, obviously, when the Celts moved in from Ireland and Dalradian Scots came over from Ireland, they mixed, and there's probably a little bit more nuance to that. But the Vikings were actually raiding the British Isles for a long time, taking slaves, stuff like that. And I believe Iceland was one of those areas that they took them out there. Now that's why you see a bunch of ruins and stuff like that. There's a lot of Nordic imagery with it, but if you actually play the game, you can hear all the Belfast, Scottish, all those kind of accents through them. So it's essentially a game about a Celtic woman going through psychosis to break free of the Viking invasion, which is why we're going to talk about Scottish food. And a lot of people, there's, as you know, a lot of Appalachia and the South was actually settled by Scottish. So I am in the opinion that the biggest difference between Southern comfort food and Appalachian food, between that and British foods, especially Scotland, is the corn. So Scottish whiskey is actually made with barley, I believe, rye and barley. Scotch bourbon, or not Kentucky bourbon, which is a form of whiskey. There's a lot of other stuff going on there, but that's actually corn mash. So whiskey is something brought over from Scotland. If anyone here enjoys whiskey, that's where that comes from. One of my favorite Scottish foods ever is, I'm sure you're going to put it here up here. It's haggis. Haggis is essentially,
let's see which one this is. Nope, not that one. Not that one. There it is. I forgot which one I labeled it. I did not label these correctly. Sorry, go ahead.
Every April 6th, it's called National Tartan Day, and that you sing a Robert Burns Scottish poem, and then you cut haggis. Haggis is essentially the leftover of sheep, lung, livers, all that good stuff, with oats spiced, and then it's wrapped in their intestines, and you boil it for an hour, and then it becomes kind of a hash. And when I was in Edinburgh, Scotland, I had a stay with a guy, met through Call of Duty, by the way, stayed with a guy, and he cooked me haggis, neeps, and tatties, and had a Scottish iron brew, which is a orange soda that you can drink to get rid of hangovers. But neeps and tatties were basically just potatoes and forgot what it was. It was something or other, but it was really good. And
Very
then
nice. I think haggis is probably one of the more popular ones because of the nature of what is actually being made. So it's definitely a good shout out. I think it's something I've always wanted to eat because of the sheer nature of it. Like I said, it's just something and I'm a very big foodie guy. So culinary, it's just mind blowing that something like that could be edible and delicious. So I want to try it for sure. But sorry, go back. Professor Goldshell here with the, I know you said don't make you sound like a Bond villain, but.
And then there's a lot of chowders and stuff. And then there's one here in the southern Indiana, western Kentucky area called burgoo, which I think it came from Wales, which is another Celtic peoples.
That's the red soup one that you sent me, right?
The red soup, yeah. It's I think it's a bastardization of the bird stew, but a lot of Welsh immigrants came into this area, and a lot of stews, I believe, are very Celtic in origin as well. And chowders.
Chowder. I don't know if anybody remembers that South Park, or not South Park, that Simpsons episode where he's like, "It's chowder," and he's like, "It's chowder, chowder, chowder." And speaking of chowder, I do have one else that you sent me. Do you kind of want to talk about that a little bit? I have it up on the screen. That was the kind of mashed potato-ish kind of chowder.
Kind of a potato soup. It's a Cullen Skeek monkey sent it to us, and that looks very much like the precursor or a predecessor to what you're seeing is a lobster bisque, or say a New England clam chowder. So a lot of hearty stews and soups and biscuits, and that's why I say there's not a whole lot of difference between U.S., especially comfort food, and because a good portion of us came over with the British Empire. Like you said yourself, you're half Irish, so same Isles. I personally am Scottish descent. I've got my tartan right here. So Clan Angus is my tartan.
So I think most of us know kind of, I think the biggest one here in America that we know that's Celtic, Celtic-ish food would be corned beef and cabbage. This is kind of something I think I dropped onto you guys before we started. That's not actually a traditional Irish meal. what it used to be bacon and cabbage. In Ireland, it used to be bacon and cabbage, but when the 19th century they came over due to the famine, the price of bacon was too expensive for a lot of the Irish immigrants to purchase. So something that was cheap and affordable for them was corned beef, and that's how we have now here in America corned beef and cabbage. So it's definitely an Irish meal, just not the traditional one that you would think is a St. Paddy's Day meal naturally associated with it. That would be bacon and cabbage. But yeah, a little fun fact there for you guys to know. Q, you said you also had two of them, corned beef and cabbage being one. What was another a Celtic meal that you've had or that you were talking about?
So yeah, I actually I wanted to make sure I did some research before I actually was talking about this, because I wanted to see if I had anything that I've actually had. But for me, the closest that I have to any kind of Celtic dishes is corned beef and cabbage, of course, which, as you explained, isn't quite there, but it's inspired by it. I do want to eventually give haggis a go, even though, like, you know, when you hear haggis, you're like, what is that? But then like when you explain it, it's just like that's kind of what they do with hot dogs, just with a different animal. So
I mean, yeah, that's definitely a very
really
fair
what
point.
it is, man.
Yeah,
I was about to say,
We bring down the logic of it. Yeah.
Yep, there it is. That's a giant hot dog.
dogs.
That's a Scottish glizzy. That is a Scottish glizzy right there.
No, don't do that. No glizzy talk.
That's a hot dog. That's a New York hot dog.
But and then another one that
Big old fat one.
Yeah.
No bun required.
No buns required. Oh, sorry, you were saying.
Flag on the play.
And then another one.
Give me a yellow. Yeah.
Shepherd's pie. I love shepherd's pie. It is a very I'm very much I love one, like, everything in one go type thing, even though it's weird. When I eat all my food separate when they're separate, but I love eating things that are everything in one type go. Don't ask me. It's weird, I know. But like,
no, that's fair.
Shepherd's pie. I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of stews that I've had that are inspired outside of corned beef and cabbage, but like I don't associate the two, because stews are stews. But if I had to pick two that I'm like, I know that I've had a bunch of times and I thoroughly enjoy, it's shepherd's pie and corned beef and cabbage. I've actually had bacon and cabbage before as well, so I guess I did have like the more traditional version of the meal. All right.
Some other popular ones, soda bread. Usually that is very simple to make. That design on top as well isn't done for aesthetics. It's actually a lot of Irish food and Celtic food is based in superstition and traditions. So usually that mark.
Why don't you bring that up? Because that's what whiskey means in Celtic. It's uske. Well, I might be pronouncing that wrong, but it means water of life. So you got something to that. But go ahead. Sorry.
There we go.
Whiskey,
no, I mean whiskey.
Water of life.
It is. I have quite the collection here at my house. Of ones that I just haven't been able to drink. I even actually made my own whiskey. I have like 4 bottles of it left, but yeah, it's delicious. But yeah, so that's soda bread.
Let's talk offline. Let me get one of those.
Talk
offline.
Yeah, that I'll show it here pretty soon. But soda bread, yeah, that mark on top is a superstition for like protection, I think, and like what else is it called? It's something. It was the superstition of like protecting the house and having a healthy life, healthy fortune. Same thing. There's also Colcannon, which is like, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. That's kind of like a potato-ish, mashed potato, kind of grated potato with like flour and egg and milk and things like that. That's also another traditional Celtic dish.
So I like potatoes au gratin, but less cheese.
Essentially, yeah, pretty much without the cheese. I would think so. I haven't had it yet. I've just kind of the stuff that I've looked up and everything like that. But easy to make as well. A lot of these dishes are going to be very easy to make. not cheap products, but like more affordable and, that are full flavored, very good eating. A lot of stews too from Irish, because that's also very superstitious. A cauldron was meant to be making like feasts. They would have these feasts. It would be for fertility, inside of a cauldron, to you would make it in there to boost fertility and happy families and things like that. So another little fun fact. Gold, do you want to talk a little bit more about any foods? I'm going to bring out that whiskey real quick so I can show you.
Yeah, but like most foods, there's a religious component to it. What was it? No, I don't. I think we covered at least what I wanted to talk about on that.
Awesome.
Speaking of whiskey, if I ever come out that way, I'm going to have to pick you up a bottle of Woodford Reserve, straight from the Bourbon Trail.
You know what?
Yeah. So
I might have actually. I think somebody might have given me like a 10-year or something like that of it recently.
Yes.
But yeah,
a lot of the American bourbons are aged a lot less, say like 6 to 8 years, whereas Scottish whiskies, probably like that, is aged probably more in the 11, 12 years. Also, different stuff is fermented, like corn versus barley and rye, and surprisingly, Japanese have bought into the bourbon industry here. I think they own Jim Beam.
I was about to say, a lot of people don't realize, but Japanese owns Jim Beam. American's whiskey is actually not owned by America. Go ahead, but continue.
Well, country music's actually very popular over there too, by the way.
A lot of things, actually, a lot of American things like baseball. Maybe that should be a good discussion. Maybe next week we talk about tango, kind of a life introspective of tango, where it started, and we could do Japanese cuisine. Mm-hmm. That could be definitely something that might be a pretty good one. But yeah, that's my whiskey, 72 degrees. There's only 4 bottles of it left in the entire world. So
nice.
Yeah, it's a Irish kind of style, single malt inspired whiskey.
I'm about to try to own one of them.
Yeah, definitely.
Launch to you, good sir.
Actually, so real quick, we talk about whiskey. Do we have a favorite Scotch or Irish whiskey? Since we're talking about that,
Jameson,
Powers,
a bunch.
I know. It's like so.
I like Powers.
Yeah, Powers. Redbreast is actually one of a nice, good 12-year Redbreast is one of them that I really like as an Irish whiskey. Jameson, I'm always partial to. I know it's so like American, Irish whiskey. Everybody has JMO. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Redbreast is another really, really good one. Whistle Pig.
I kind of stick to my hometown stuff, honestly. Yeah. I know I don't do a whole lot of Irish whiskey and Scotch. I kind of stick with stuff that I can probably drive an hour and go grab at the actual distilleries. There's an oaky flavor about the bourbon. Yeah, I do live really close to the Bourbon Trail, so I'm kind of spoiled on that front.
Yeah, I live in New Jersey. Everything comes from the stores. I can go to a brewery and get some like micro brewed beer, but I'm not going to any kind of whiskey distilleries that's down the street.
Yeah. A whole bunch of stuff that my buddies have gotten me. That's actually a distillery that's no longer in business. Portuguese Bend. That was their first and only whiskey they have ever made. It's Long Beach's, where I live, Long Beach's first distillery. They actually have another one that's being made by a really good people called it was like Villanery and something. They have a brewery. This is actually straight from Ireland. This is an Irish whiskey. Called Writer's Tears.
Writer's Tears.
Yep, it's an actual.
Actually, I think I've had Writer's Tears before.
Like I said, I have a ton of these that aren't even open. Just people get me just whiskeys because they know like how much I just like to sip, and I barely even get a chance to drink any of them. I swear I'm not an alcoholic. This is actually an Iowa whiskey. If you guys are familiar with the band Slipknot, they came out with their own whiskey called Whiskey Number 9, which is a corn whiskey. Steel Austin. I can't remember who got me this, or Still Austin, or where it's from, but that's also another one I have. I have probably like 6 or 7 more different bottles of whiskey.
Nice.
Here. Just make some space. But yeah, so just to show you, I do love my whiskeys. I just never really get a chance to drink them all. Sorry, my thing keeps...
The shirt you're wearing looks very whiskey bottle too.
My what? Oh, my shirt? Yeah. I got this.
Yeah, it looks like a label for a good quality Kentucky bourbon.
This was actually for my birthday, for my 40th birthday this year. Vintage edition.
Nice.
1984, the year I was born. Yes, I am 40. Yes, I am semi-oldish. But yeah. But when we talk about whiskeys and Irish, it's my jam. That's my jam. Beer and whiskey. Yep. That part I got right, being Irish. Beer and whiskey. So I'm part 50%.
Screaming that you didn't mention tequila.
Yes, I am part Mexican as well. Like I said, I'm more of a Mexicant than a Mexican. Mexican speaks Spanish very well. So that's kind of it. And then Native American. So that's also another firewater for me. Yeah. Good show.
I'm mostly Scottish and Welsh.
Oh, there we go. So this is definitely up your alley.
I'm black.
There we go.
That's it.
That's all I know.
You don't have anything. That's all.
Curious, is there any food similar? Just to kind of just go into any Celtic food similar from your nationality, Q, like anything that's kind of similar in perspective? You know, there's always some similarities between, a lot of food bases.
Well, I know, like, so my family, like, as far like the farthest back that I know is that my family is from the Carolinas, North and South.
Okay.
And I do know that a lot of Southern cuisine is inspired by, obviously, the people that moved down there, which a lot of Irish people moved down to the South. So I know a lot of I know, like, a lot of Southern comfort food has some Irish background to it. So I think like Hoppin' John is one, like Black Eyed Peas, if I'm not mistaken, like Black Eyed Peas and Rice. Hoppin' John has like a bit of a Irish background to it, I believe. I would have to look. Yeah, I would have to look some stuff up. I don't know
too familiar on
that
it
much.
Okay,
yeah, but I know some Southern like food is Irish inspired, so I don't know which ones in particular.
Okay,
I'll say that.
That's definitely very fair. Awesome. Is there anything else you guys want to cover? I think this was another great episode in the books. We have 3 so far.
Yeah.
Here in the books. Let's do some outros. We'll start off doing some quick. What are you guys? We did what we were playing in the week. Let's talk about what we will play coming up this week until our next show. Hopefully we can get another one in next weekend. But until then, Q, what are you going to be playing this week?
I'm going to be steadily going down the road with Fallout 4. Like I said, depending on how much time I have between playing Fallout 4 and Hellblade 2, I might jump in and do a little palate cleanser on Game Pass, probably Little Kitty Big City or something that I already have on my hard drive. I do want to at some point do maybe stream something, so maybe you'll see in the next week or two me just on this channel streaming a game, because I play them enough. Might as well stream every once in a while, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
That's what I got looking forward to. I don't really want to add too many more games to what I'm playing right now, because I know Hellblade 2 is coming up in about a week, so I don't want to add something else to what I'm doing. So I'm just plugging away at Fallout 4, enjoying Diamond City Radio. I'm actually... I was singing songs from the game in the shower. Maybe I should take a break from playing Fallout. I'm like singing Don't Want to Set the World on Fire, and one of the songs on there is hilarious. It's called Butcher Pete. And it's a song about some guy that's a butcher, and it's a sexual euphemism because it's talking about him chopping all the women's meat. And the first time I heard this, I'm like, is he a serial killer? What are they talking about? Him chopping all the meat? But as I'm listening to the song, it's like, oh no.
Oh yes.
Chopping all the meat means fucking.
Yep. I was going to say, at this rate, sir, with all these games, you are never going to rescue your son in Fallout 4. He is just going to be forever lost to the wasteland with your backlog and amount of games coming out.
Yeah, probably.
I say he's going to be 90 years old by the time you get to him. Gold, how about you? What are you going to be playing this week?
Pac-Man and Sandland.
Pac-Man and Sandland.
That's it. Yep.
That's it. That's it. Nothing else. Oh yeah, because Hellblade isn't out until the 21st. That's 2 weeks from now. All right. Perfect. I think I'm going to be doing Texas Chainsaw Massacre a little bit more. I did want to do my speed run for Resident Evil 4, so I could get some extras in that, but I don't know how much I'll be able to get to that. Hellblade is definitely going to be on my list. Did you say you were going to replay Hellblade 2 or no? Gold, are you content remembering where it was and how you left off
content.
with it? Okay.
I'm content. I don't really play a whole lot of. The only game that I've actually replayed recently again was Outer Worlds.
Okay. No, that's definitely
I don't really
fair
play
enough.
games again.
No, definitely fair enough.
How quickly can you get through Resident Evil 4, Cork? You say you're doing a speed run. How fast do you get through that?
So you can get extras. I think to get S plus rank in hardcore, you have to beat it under 5 hours and 30 minutes. So you can do that. Resident Evil 8, was it Village? I can't remember.
Yeah, 8 was Village.
Yeah,
8 was Village.
Yeah, I sped ran that in under 2 hours. So yeah, you can do it, but it's like a lot of it's like using the as you unlock stuff. So there is an infinite ammo rocket launcher that just one shots everything, so that helps. There's other things too. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, there's other things that can help too. So you could probably do it roughly in under 5.5 hours, 5 hours if you really had everything set up. So I don't know if I'm going to go that far like I did with Resident Evil Village, but yeah, we'll just have to wait and see.
Okay, that's cool.
Awesome, guys. Well, that does it for us. We'll figure out what the next topic's going to be. It sounds like maybe a kind of homage to Tango, what they've done, and Japanese cuisine might be coming up next. If you guys don't know, also, I was invited back to Breakfast with Boom. So I will be back on this Friday. Please check him out. Again, subscribe, like to his stuff. He seriously is a great content creator and all around great guy. Just an absolute beacon of positivity.
Shout out to Boom.
Yeah, just an absolute beacon of positivity. His community is just so amazing. So please go follow him. Check us out on Breakfast with Boom. These are your hosts. We have Q, Goldshell, and myself, Corkenstein. Eat, game, drink whiskey. Be happy, guys. Hope to see you guys next week.
Signing off.
Take it easy, y'all.
Like and subscribe.
Yep. Thank you, guys. Take it easy, y'all.